Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking and great to have you along for episode number 50, the Big 5-0. Who would have thought we would have made it, eh? But here we are. It's been just over a year since we've been going. But yep, it's been great. Really appreciate all you guys out there that are taking part in the program, watching the program, of course, and giving us plenty of feedback. And my co-host tonight's been there since day one. I'm referring to Grant Tassie Brown. How are you, mate?
Break out the champagne, Lyndon. Take it out, mate. It's a bit of a shame it's just me and you because it would have been good to have Peter, Mike, and Noonan boy, but what a journey, Lyndon. I remember when you mentioned it to me about doing it. I was all in from the start, talking boxing. A platform that the way you suggested we do it. The dream fights,
The classic fights.
classic fights, the Thursday night, news stories, just interviewing. Well, look, we've had some great fighters on here. We've had Jeff Fennick, Anthony Mundine, Billy Dibb,
The Maloney's,
Michael Zarafa, the Maloneys, Glen Jennings,
Shannon O'Connell.
Shannon O'Connell. We've had Hector Camacho Jr.,
Yeah.
Stitch Duran.
Yeah.
Many great fighters, and yeah, mate, we've had quizzes with me and Peter Maniatis, which were neck and neck for about a while, but then I broke ahead. I think 12-2 or 14-2,
Something like that.
ridiculous, something ridiculous, like some ridiculous number. We've had Mike's witty, like he's just his story and his technical side of things. Mike Altamura, there's only one Mike Altamura. Recent times about Nick Noonan boy, who's up to date with all the journalism, who's made his way in America with Fight Hype. He's very highly respected and regarded in America, and it's been good, Lyndon.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't really give it too much thought about the Big 5-0 till this afternoon, to be honest. And Peter did actually contact me yesterday or the day before saying he's going to be back in the next week or so. So it'd be great to have him obviously back on the show to take you on. But maybe we'll see that when we believe it when we see it. Let's hopefully he's back. But Nick Noonan, obviously he's got a lot going on at the moment with obviously the big fight next week. And Mike has obviously always got things going on. So anyway, look, it's only a number, but it's great to be to have been around for 50 episodes. And let's hope we've got a few more left in us.
I reckon we've got plenty more, Lyndon, and let's give a shout out to our viewers. Thank you for subscribing, watching us. Sometimes I'm not going to apologise. Sometimes I can get a bit overheated, say some things, be a bit too passionate, but that's who I am, so I won't apologise for that. But thank you for putting up with me. Me and Peter's had some great debates, and Peter's great at what he does, and he's a legend in his own right. Lyndon is the calm, cool-headed mediator. And but yeah, look, it's been good, Lyndon. And I think a lot of people really enjoy watching us. And guys like Bill Hack down in Tasmania looks forward to it every week. So I mean, that's a pretty big thing. The fact that we make someone's day is pretty surreal.
Yeah, it is, mate. And yeah, look, it's always an evolving show. And look, we've probably gone through a few little different bits and pieces we've tried, and with the interviews and that sort of stuff. But I think the analysing of the fights and the game is probably more up our alley than the interviews. We probably will do some more standalone interviews, but I just think as far as your show, I really like the debate and the analysis and discussion about the game, which is all our passion. So let's hope we've got Pete on in the next sort of week or so. We've got Nick Noonan boy after he's done with the Cambosis Haney rematch. Hopefully we can get him back on and have a bit of a rotation system going on. And who knows with Mike. So, but as always, sorry mate, go ahead.
The only thing I've got an issue with was which I think was stupid, was your movie part of the quiz. I reckon that was just ridiculous. It was the most stupidest
Well, it
thing.
only lasted 1 week.
It was almost as bad as Mike Altamura's dream fight with bloody
Jeff Fennick.
Barry McGuigan.
Well, if you didn't see that episode out there, guys, what I did was one of the quizzes was based around boxing movies, and it was so well received that it was never seen again. So,
Well, Peter hasn't got a social life like me, so he watches the movies. While I'm out back when I was single, getting girls and being a rock star, he was inside in his Versace shirt watching boxing movies.
yeah, no, you're probably right. Well, he's excited to be back. He's refreshed. He's ready to go. So let's hope that he comes back and we're back on with the quiz. So let's get on to this week's news. And as always, there's always plenty going on in the Aussie and world scene. We've got a particularly big weekend this weekend. We'll cover the Super Saturday in detail and all the other news, and we'll also cover some of the world stuff. And I've chucked a few talking points in there as well that I want to discuss because there's a few things that sort of rattle my cage lately, and it's getting on my nerves, a few things. So I've just put it out there to discuss anyway. But let's get into the first point of call, and we actually touched on it in last week's episode. Of course, the fight has been signed, sealed, and delivered. It's Ebanie Bridges, Shannon O'Connell. We did touch on this last week that we suspected this might be the case. It would be December 10 in Leeds. We discussed in detail, of course, that it could happen. And the next day it was announced, as is always the case. So it's going to be on the Josh Warrington card in Leeds, December 10. So I think it would be December 11 in Australia. But what
a crowd!
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be.
Yeah, look, it's going to be massive, and as I said, we talked about it last week about the advantages of having it on its own standalone. On a big card like the Warrington fight rather than a standalone event. If they're going to do it in England, they may as well make it on a massive show rather than in front of a couple of thousand people in England, or the same back here. So the only downside, as we discussed, of course, is that it's going to be on at about 5 or 6 in the morning. Melbourne time or Australian time, which is not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, look, it's. I'm glad it's on this show. It's great for Shannon, great for Ebanie. We predicted it could be on this show. Josh Warrington brings them all there in Leeds, and I know Ebanie's got a bit of a following there too. So look, you can't get much bigger, mate. It's better than being in Australia.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday night. This is massive. And, it's just great to be happening. I'm sure Shannon and the Rose team and Glen Jennings, I'm sure they're up for it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's going to be obviously a lot of, going back and forth and a lot of barbs thrown either way, and it's already started. I saw this week, can't remember where I saw on social media, that Ebanie's, I think it might have been the Taylor Robinson fight, where... Yeah. There was obviously some words exchanged there, and there was allegedly some death threats or something from supporters. But anyway, whatever it was, I'm sure it was made a lot bigger than what it actually was. But Ebanie Bridges has probably thrown the first punch, figuratively, I will say, in the saying, well, here you go, this she's her supporters, there you go, that's all class. They're giving death threats to a young boxer. Look, I doubt that was the case. There's always the argy-bargy. I know in that particular case with Shannon when she fought Taylor, there was a lot of spite in it from mainly outside the ropes. But look, you tend to move on after that. But as I said, Ebanie's latched onto that and has rolled with it for starters. So the first punch or volley or whatever you want to call it has been fired by Team Bridges.
Yeah, well, look, I don't know about none of that stuff.
Nah, me either.
I don't really care about any of it. I mean, it's all about what goes on in the ring, Lyndon. It doesn't matter what's said on the outside in text messages or posts. It's meaningless. What goes on in the squared circle, that's what matters the most to me.
Yeah, no, I agree, and as I said, it's bound to get more heated as we go, especially when the girls are actually in England face to face. But I'm with you. Look, I'm just looking forward to all that stuff aside. I'm sure there'll be lots of things going on, but really just looking forward to seeing those two girls just stare each other down the ring and get on with it and start throwing punches. And I did comment on the other night, and I wanted your opinion on it as well. I know the common theory out there is that Shannon should win quite easily. Even though obviously I know Shannon really well, I'm of the opposite. I think it's going to be a really tough fight. Obviously, I think Shannon wins, but Bridges has improved a lot, and I think Shannon realises this as well. She's a professional, of course, that Bridges is not going to be a pushover. She's going to be a very, very tough fight. She's not going to give up her belt easily.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough fight. You got to remember, Bridges is over there in England. She's got the best sparring there is.
Yep.
Shannon has got very limited sparring in Australia. I've got no idea who she's even going to spar for it. But I know, being a bit involved in women's boxing with Mousy Jacobs and obviously and now with Susie Ramadan, obviously, being with Lim Jecker, there's not many females around, so she's over there getting the top-notch sparring, and that's going to be a big advantage for her. She's not going to give up a belt. She's very confident. I think Shannon wins, but it won't be as easy as what we probably would have thought maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the fact that when you get a belt, especially a world championship belt, you go sort of from here to here in all facets, and the way you carry yourself and just everything about you. And I think you walk a little bit taller, so that's going to help. As I said, Shannon's under no illusions what she's up against. She doesn't expect an easy fight. She knows it's going to be, all things are going to be against her over there. But she's up for it, as the whole team. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. And let's hope we get a great fight. Great for women's boxing, great for Australian boxing, of course. And, so that'll come around pretty quick. It's only a couple of months away, so can't wait for that. Another thing we can't wait for is this weekend is Super Saturday. It is here. It's coming around really quick. The Boxing Festival, Saturday, 8th of October at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. There's 20 fights on the card. And one thing that's been interesting is that, I better touch wood, no fights have really fallen over. They've pretty much had them in place since day dot, and they haven't fallen over, which is great. As of BoxRec at the moment, all 20 fights are up there in full. And I'll run through the sort of major fights I see on the card in a second, but should be a massive weekend for boxing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is a bit odd that no fights are falling through, because we know what goes on in boxing. So, look, if that's the case, I'm very happy for the guys, because there's nothing I hate seeing more than for fellow promoters is seeing fights fall through and guys pull out. So, mate, if it's a full stack card of what they said, then that's great. And I'm looking forward to seeing Nikita, who I'm a big fan of, how he handles this guy. The guy will bring it, he's tough and he's his home crowd, but Nikita's class is a levels above him. And I'm interested in seeing Nikita take his time and really do a good job on him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a ripper fight. I mean, Ben Horn obviously tested Nikita in different ways, but through his awkwardness and everything else and his craftiness. Dark and Dryden's going to obviously test him by standing in front of him and teeing off as well. So I think it's good. I think, and as you know, Nikita's team they'd be prepared for everything that you'd think that Dryden would be able to throw at Nikita, and they'll be fully prepared for it. I've just got a suspicion that we might see a more maybe patient sort of boxing type of fight from Nikita this time, rather than trying to take him out of there early.
Well, he's even said that in his interview.
Has he? Yeah.
I think today or yesterday he said he's going to look at taking his time more and sort of beat him down. So, yeah. So I look for a bit more calculated, more patient Nikita Zoo, which I think is trouble for anyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, let's have a look at the card. What I've done is put up what I see is probably the main fights on the card. There's obviously 20 fights in total. I won't go through them all. There's too many to sort of go through. I've picked out probably those, as I said, the top 6 fights I can probably see. Of course, headlined by Dennis Hogan, Sam Eggington for the IBO Super Welterweight title. I'm assuming this is going to be the main event. Nikita's obviously the big name around it, but I'm assuming they will have Hogan Eggington as the main, or the last fight, I will say. So the two fighters, Dennis Hogan, 30 wins, 4 losses and a draw. Eggington, 32 and 7. Then, of course, as we said, Nikita Zoo, who is 3-0 against Dark and Dryden, who is 4-0. That's 6 rounds for the at Super Welterweight, so no belts in the line there. Then we've got Paul Alacuso. This is a real good fight I'm looking forward to, not necessarily for the fireworks, just for real skill, technique and everything.
Real good test.
Yeah, so 10 rounds. IBO Intercontinental Light Heavyweight title. So look at the records here. Paul Alacuso's only had 2 fights. He's 2-0. Faris Chevalier is 13 and 2. This one should be a war. Darragh Foley versus Blake Minto, 10 rounds for the IBO Oriental Super Lightweight title. Darragh Foley is 20 wins, 4 losses and a draw. Blake Minto is 14 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws. This young kid, Sam Goodman, 12-0, up against Jason Cooper, who is 17-3-1 for the WBO Oriental Super Bantamweight title. And a fight that's probably not really high on, I suppose, the marketing of the fight, but I think has major implications, is the comeback of Jade Mitchell up against Mark Lucas. 6 rounds light heavyweight fight. Jade hasn't fought for over 2.5 years, so it's great to have him back. But look, just those 6 fights alone are worth the $60.
Jay's last fight would have been on your show,
It was
wouldn't it?
February 2020. Yep.
Against the Hungarian. So it's good to see Jay Mitch back. Ennington's a good fighter. I've been told, as I said, if you brawl with him, you haven't got much of a chance, but he can be outboxed. So Hogan needs to look to box and box well. Asuku Chevalier is a great fight. That's a great, Asuku's really stepping up, taking on everyone. Goodman's a great talent. Foley is always in a good fight. So that part is a great part of the card.
Yeah, it should be. So who do you think wins the Hogan-Eggington fight? It's a tough one.
Mate, Hogan can outbox Ennington, but Ennington's coming to fucking win, man. I'm going Eggington.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it'll be a good even fight. I'll probably go for Hogan, I suppose, but I think wouldn't surprise me Eggington wins that one.
The winner. I think you know what I'm going to say too. The winner should fight your mate.
Wade. Well, Hogan's already beaten Wade Ryan, hasn't he?
So can't have a rematch.
Maybe they could fight Kamikayo or one of those types of guys, but or Kozan Mizuti. I will talk to Peter about that.
Yeah, that's right. You don't talk to the fight, you talk to Peter.
Now, the Accurso-Chevalier fight. Now, you'd think that there's probably two schools of thought here. One, you look at the records and go, what the hell is this guy 2-0 fighting a guy that's had nearly 20 fights? However, obviously, this Accurso is just such an awesome talent. I think this is a really hard fight to pick. Now, I'm assuming the guy or the team that are looking after Accurso, which is obviously No Limit, sees Chevalier as a great stepping stone. But I don't know, apart from Chevalier's last fight with Conor Wallace, which he didn't look overly great, before that, his form was really strong. And I think if that Chevalier shows up, he could give Accurso some major problems.
Yeah, I think he's far from being a stepping stone at the moment for anyone. So I don't think he's still into journeyman mode. Yeah, look, Asuku's he wants to move fast. He said he wants to break Jeff Fennick's record for winning the world title, the fastest Aussie. So he believes in himself. So look, he's backing his words up for sure.
Look, I'll probably back Accurso because obviously No Limit knows something we don't. That's probably why they're putting him with Chevalier. I just think the work rate of Accurso is going to give Chevalier some problems, and I think he'll win the one. I think Darragh Foley gets a job over Blake Minto. Sam Goodman definitely over Jason Cooper. And I think Jade Mitchell, even though it's only a 6-round fight, anything can happen in 6 rounds. I think Jade, as long as the weight doesn't get him, he hasn't lost too much weight, I think he accounts for Mark Lucas. He's a pretty well-established fighter as well, or credentialed.
Yeah, I'll pick Jade Mitch as well.
All right, so if you're out there and if you want to watch it, it's on Saturday from 4 p.m. $60. Go on to the main event app or website, whatever it is, and order it. And as I said, it starts from 4 o'clock on Saturday. That is Super Saturday. What a card it'll be. I'll be watching there with my popcorn. It should be a great day of fights.
And what day is it on a Saturday?
Saturday. Yep. From 4 o'clock. So no footy or anything like that. So perfect timing. A couple of other shows on this weekend. Ace Boxing, a little bit unfortunate. Floyd Masson has had to pull out from the main event. He's injured. So Adrian Rodriguez and Victor Nagby will be the main event. So we'll be live on BN Sports on Friday night. So should be another great card from Ace Boxing.
100%, mate. 100%. It's a big card. I'm interested in a Tassie boy who's on my next show, Bo Woods. So I hope he gets through it unscathed. And mate, this is interesting. Nagby Rodriguez, I've got a fair bit of interest in the super middleweight division. slash waterweight division with Bo Belbin. So I know Nagby's a very good fighter. I don't know much about Rodriguez, but I'll tick Nagby only because I know a bit about him. Like, he's quite good. Got a win over Sam Solomon, and Nagby was sparring the very good Stevie Spark there.
Oh, okay.
For a while.
And he has beaten Terry Nicholas as well, who obviously goes okay.
Terry as well, yeah. So he's got some good. He's got some good scalps on his name.
Well, let's have a look at the actual fight card. Look, I don't know a hell of a lot about some of these guys. Did you say who you say was on the card that you've got an eye on?
My guy from Tasmania, Bo Woods.
Okay, he's not supposed to be on this card, is he?
It's just been added to it apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, mate, this hasn't been updated. I looked at this today. So obviously, Adrian Rodriguez, Victor Nagby, 10 rounds for the Australian Super Welterweight title. Ricky Silva, Darminda Gruel at cruiserweight. Lewis Chadwick.
Oh,
yeah.
Another one who's on my show too, Sutamama Manului. So, fuck, I hope both these guys come out unscathed.
Yeah, so Manuli will fight Lewis Chadwick at Super Welter. Dan Hill will fight Harmonia Huria at Super Welter. And Thomas Wilkins will fight Bryce McLaughlin at Super Middle. So, look, I don't know a lot about the undercard fighters, we'll say, but one thing we know for sure with Ace Boxing Group, they always put on really good fights, and I'm sure that it'll be well worth watching. So that's on Friday night, I think from 7 o'clock on beIN Sports on Fox. So check it out. Another one on this weekend is Wildfighter. So, again, October 7th, which is Friday night, St Kilda Town Hall. I know it well. I've done a few shows there in the past. It's a great location. Round 9 this Saturday night. So, it should be an excellent card. I've got that here as well. So, Caesar Afakan versus Trent Harrison, 6 rounds at welterweight. So, look, I don't think there's any big title fight for the main event, but look, I'm sure it'll still be a quality card from Willie. He does put on some good ones. And the Caesar Afakan looks like, he's got all the tools and he's got big reps on him as well.
Yeah, I want to, mate, Adam Adim Spoil is a gun.
All right, we'll keep an eye on him, but...
With Pierre Karam.
Yep.
I've had some boys sparring. He's going to be... Yeah, he's very, very good boy. His debut. Vita Pomelo is a good fighter. Luke Gersbeck. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
And Afghan.
Yeah.
Oh, so is Afghan the main event? Is he?
Yeah. So that's 6 rounds. At welterweight.
I don't know Trent Harrison. I don't know.
No, I don't either. He's actually making his debut. Caesar Afakan is 3-0-1. As you said, Adam Spall. I won't try and pronounce his name. Young Gabadadura.
Afghan hasn't fought anyone yet. He's a good fighter, but he's yeah.
Yeah, well, he's fighting this Yana over 5 rounds is Adam Spall. Luke Gersbeck, who is 2-0-1, fighting Rafael Vilches, who's 1-0 over 4 rounds. Vita Pamali, who is 4-0, fighting Co Andrews, who's making his debut. And Matthew Abdulis, who is 3-0, is fighting Mark Aquiva, who is 1-4. So there are some tickets available, but jump online and get it on the Wildfighter website. You can just buy them there, and then you can print your tickets from there. I'm not sure whether they're available at the door. So if you want to go on Friday night, not much going on. Should be a really good night. As I said, great venue. Jump on Wildfighter, buy them, print your tickets off, and away you go. So
yeah, 100%.
He's doing good things though, isn't he, Will? I mean, he's just getting the shows under his belt. I know at one stage he was sort of in line to maybe go in with DNL. DNL have obviously made the decision to go by themselves, but I think Wildfighter with Will, I think he might go down the track of maybe Angelo DiCarlo, and maybe even start putting his own shows on, because he does his own production and does a really good job.
Yeah, I spoke to Will yesterday about something.
Yep.
Mate, he does it. I said to him, "You do a great job, mate. He does his own shows at his own venues. He does a good production, like you said, and he's doing 3 shows back to back. So he's mate. Yeah, look, mate. Anyone who does their own thing and doesn't rely on other people, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and I like, as I said, like with Angelo DiCarlo and also Tasman fighters as well, paying some big money to make sure their productions are at Fox Sports type of level, and let's hope they all get their crack at some stage of having Fox events that are paid for by Fox, not out of their own pockets. They all do a great job, and we need those guys in the sport. All right, that's it for the Aussie news. Let's get on to some world stuff going on, and a lot of stuff going on at the moment. I won't say necessarily it's all good news or all for the right reasons. It's actually really frustrating. I've got a couple of talking points I'm going to throw in there with the things we're going to talk about. The first thing I want to get onto is our old mates Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. We talked about it last week. That was a proposed fight. I know it was a long shot, but apparently the fight is 100% off now. Blame game all over the place. Fury's blaming Joshua, or Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's blaming Fury's camp. So, look, it's just the whole thing's just turned out to be a mess.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this. I didn't have much hope for it anyway. I don't know if it was just a bit of extra publicity for him or Fury just wants to stay relevant. Yeah, I really don't know what to think, Lyndon, about this. I love Fury. I prefer him over Joshua as a person and a fighter, but you just don't know what's real and what's not.
Well, if you're out there and you don't know what's happened, Joshua obviously lost to Usyk recently. Tyson Fury's put it out there to Anthony Joshua that he's got a date on December 3rd. He's offered it to Joshua. Sent the contracts to Eddie Hearn and said, like, we want this signed pretty much ASAP. That's not the way it works in the boxing world, especially at this level. So Eddie Hearn obviously went back and forth. They ran out of time. Originally, they asked for more time. It was denied. But at the end of the day, what's happened now is that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and Top Rank have both said it's off. We're sick of dealing with each other. This is a little snippet of what actually John Fury said, who's the father of Tyson Fury.
Friend, you cost your man over 100 million. 15 million step aside money, free money. Then Tyson would have gone and done what AG couldn't do. He's gone and beat Usyk and brought all the belts back to the UK. In the meantime, AJ could have had a couple of easy victories, another 30 mil. Then he could have challenged Tyson for the belt. Well, who knows what numbers that would have done. So, yeah, you don't need to be the brains of Britain to see how you cost him money and put him in a position where he was allied into nothing, Mr. Brains of Britain. You got him beat over there when he could have had 15 million free money, step aside money. And Tyson would have gone and beat his man up for him. And then brought all the belts back in. He could have challenged him after some easy victories. Free money, I might as well say. So, yeah, you're a clever man, Eddie, aren't you? Very clever.
So that was John having a go at Eddie Hearn, of course. But look, I think, like anything, there's always two sides to the story. I think, end of the day, there was just not enough time. Fury's camp were impatient. Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua weren't going to be pushed around. And as a result, we've got no fight. Two fighters that have actually put their hands up, I will say, in this whole mess is
Joyce.
Joe Joyce and Andy Ruiz. So both of them have stepped in and said, Joe Joyce has said, well, I'll take on Anthony Joshua on the 17th of December because apparently he's going to fight that now anyway, even though it's only, about 4 months since his last fight. So Joe Joyce has said that, and Andy Ruiz has put his hand up to fight Tyson Fury on December the 3rd. So the plot thickens.
Yeah. Fuck, man, I couldn't see Ruiz getting near Fury stylistically.
I've just put the talking point up, by the way. The talking point, of course, is what now for Joshua and Fury, which is what obviously we're talking about.
Well, I think Joel Joyce beats Joshua.
You think? Yeah, I'm not sure whether Anthony Joshua would risk, or Eddie Hearn more than anything, would risk the fighting, the juggernaut he's called. It's coming off 2 losses. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
Nah, but they want big fights. They want all big Britain affairs. Obviously, Frank Warren's got Joel Joyce, but I think Warren and Eddie's been talking lately over the Fury thing, so I think they're probably on good terms. But yeah, it's about what can sell. I mean, AJ's only in big fights, so who else can he really sell with?
Yeah, look, if I was looking after Joshua, I'd say, well, let's just wipe this year off. You only fought a couple of months ago, so let's
I would too.
Yeah, let's just take a break, take a breath, get through Christmas and all the rest of it, and take a breath, and then reload again. And let's not be bullied by Fury, because the fight might still happen. Look, obviously, the longer it goes, it's not going to happen. But Fury, on the other hand, he's talking about fighting Manuel Char, who's a long history. He's fought for he's held a version of the WBA title, but anyway, he's pretty much a 38-year-old journeyman now. Luis Ortiz, who's just lost to Andy Ruiz, so I don't know what's going on there. And then Filip Hrgovic, who beat the big Chinaman in his most recent fight. But all three of them, as far as appeal goes, out of 10 would be probably a 1.
Yeah.
If that.
As I said, I like Tyson. It's great for boxing, but I don't know what he says, what's real and what's not real. Well, yeah, so I guess we only have to wait and see when something's officially locked in. When it's official, then we can comment on it. But as for all the names being mentioned here and there, I don't know.
Yeah, and as for for Fury, I would, if I was looking after him, I probably would take the Andy Ruiz fight, because I think it's obviously a winnable fight for him. I don't think Andy Ruiz stands much chance of even getting near him, let alone being able to beat him. But it's a good sell, because Andy Ruiz, of course, has fought Joshua twice, took the title off him. So in England, which is obviously the biggest market over there, it has massive appeal, and I think it's got some legs as far as the marketing of it goes, and it's probably a safe option for Fury. But apart from that, those other 3 fights, I think it's him just putting it out there, as he always does, dangle the carrot, trying to get a bite out of people. And I think, to be honest with you, we all love Tyson, but I think we're all getting a little bit sick and tired of his antics. I don't know, mate.
Yeah. I don't know.
So we'll see. So anyway, so they both got dates in mind. December 3rd for Fury, December 17th for Joshua. I probably believe that Joshua won when it happens, but Fury apparently is hell-bent on fighting on December 3rd. This is, by the way, about 6 weeks since he actually retired for about the 8th time. So I don't know. He's talking like he never even retired. But that's Tyson Fury. Another fight that's definitely testing our patience is Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. Now the talks continue to stall. Now there's a few different things that play with this one. What I'm actually going to do is play a video. It was on the ESPN network. It's Max Kellerman and Copenhagen. Let's see what he has to say.
But we still don't have a deal. What's the latest?
Max, we're getting further away than ever before. It was targeted for November 19th. I am told that if it does happen now, it's going to get pushed into either December or January. And the issue, Max, I am told, is that there are disagreement in the contract over event expenses and basically transparency related to those expenses. Terence Crawford agreed to take the short end of the split and work off of no guarantee, and he wants to be able to just have some transparency there related to it, since he's going to be working off of the net revenue. And so far, they have been unable to clear this up. It feels like Al Heyman is holding up the deal right now. He advises Spence. Spence wants it. Crawford wants it. And for Crawford to agree to work off of just a purse split shows you how badly he wants this, in my opinion.
So what he's basically saying there is that, which has never really been done, Spence is guaranteed a purse plus percentages. Crawford has been guaranteed no set purse. His purse is based purely and solely on a percentage of the net that it takes. So and I think what he's come back and said is that, okay, if I'm going to go off the net, then I at least want to have a say in the expenses that are out there, because it's obviously going to, every cent that's spent is going to affect his purse. So that's where the hold up is. So I've never really heard. I've heard lots of different things have held up fights before, but never in this position where they've said to Crawford. And look, Spence is the A side. Al Heyman's obviously calling the shot. Crawford's just pretty much said yes to everything. But you cannot blame him for saying, "Hey, well, hang on. If my whole purse is based on a percentage of what the fight makes, and I've got to have a say in what the expenses are." So that's where the hold up is.
Yeah, that's totally understandable on Crawford's part for sure.
Well, it brings us to the next talking point. Big egos ruining boxing. And this is probably the first one, or probably the second one. The other one was Fury and Joshua, the whole circus with that. But we've had, let's get in back to, you've had Eddie Hearn and Leonard Allaby going back and forth. You've now had, you've got Al Heyman involved. And, we all know Al Heyman's supposedly the best in the business. But surely this is just unrealistic to put that on Crawford. I just think it's the egos in play, and I just think all these egos that are out there, as it says there, are just ruining boxing because, end of the day, big fights just aren't getting made. It's all about the promoters and managers.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's so many big egos. It doesn't definitely doesn't help prosper the sport. It's anything that stops two fighters fighting each other for whatever reason is not good for boxing. So, yeah, 1,000,000% the egos are really hurting boxing. The promoters, the managers, and people that really shouldn't be getting their heads. I mean, they're involved in it, but they shouldn't be. The way they act shouldn't be hurting the fighters. So, yeah, I agree.
Well, it's more than ever before because obviously there's so much more money involved in it these days. So everyone's got the fingers in the pies and everything else. Look, I can understand fights aren't getting made if it's a Fury Joshua type of affair where, in the instance where the contract's been rushed and one side needs time to analyse it and there's a bit of to and fro. I understand that's just the way boxing is, especially the big fights. But when it's simply a matter of, say, an Al Heyman saying, well, okay, well, it's all right, we'll be transparent with our expenses, or better yet, let's give you a set purse and a percentage like Spencer's getting obviously smaller, but let's just do something. And the thing that gets me with, just speaking of the Al Heyman situation with Errol Spence, now, Errol Spence has been pretty vocal about saying he's his own man, he's a free agent, no one tells him what to do, he does what he wants to do. But in this instance, Al Heyman seems to be getting his ego on the road and trying to make things as hard as he can for Crawford. I would expect that if Spencer's who he says he is and whatever, he's his own boss, he would say to Al Heyman, Al, just get this fight done. Cut with the bullshit and let's get it done.
I've never seen Errol Spence, as far as I know, he's not a free agent because he's with Heyman. So,
apparently, well, no, but he's not. Al Heyman's an advisor. He's not with a promotional firm. Al Heyman's his advisor. So, end of the day, Al Heyman's his advisor and obviously gets a cut. But Spencer's not told what to do by a promotional company, as is most fighters. So you would think that he would at least. Sorry.
Anyone involved with Al Heyman is on the same deal with him, Lyndon. So it's the same as the Charlos.
Yep.
Listen, it's like this. Forget about the promotion companies. It's about the TV networks. Mm-hmm. All Al Heyman's fighters are with Showtime. Mm-hmm. That's not even debatable.
Yeah.
So, Charlos, Gary Russell Jr., Spence, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. So, none of them are aligned with promotional companies. Al Heyman is the advisor, and then they're with the network. I think that makes sense.
But in this instance here, it's got nothing to do with the TV. Apparently, TV networks are all. I think Crawford said, "Well, I'll just fight," because he's a free agent too. Remember, he's just said, "All right, I'll just."
It's going to be on Showtime.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is not an issue. The issue is that Crawford's been told that you're not getting a set purse or a percentage or a percentage of pay-per-views or anything like that. You're just getting a percentage of what the fight makes. And he's saying, okay, well, I'm getting a percentage of what the fight makes. Then I need to have a say in how much money is being spent on this and that. Because at the end of the day, all the money gets spent comes out. A percentage of that is his. So, as I said, like I know Al Heyman's his advisor, but at the end of the day, Errol Spence is his own man, and he's not contracted to anyone. Yeah, so he should be able to say to Al Heyman, get it done, because Al Heyman will be working on a percentage of what he makes as well.
The thing is, Lyndon, someone has to promote it, and we know.
Well, there is a promoter.
Huh?
I think there is a promoter, isn't there?
No, it's Al Heyman. He's always a promoter.
Yeah.
They just go under the radar because the Muhammad Ali Act. You can't do both, so
yeah.
It's that's why he does answer to Al Heyman. So the advisor's just a spin-off. Who promotes all these shows to do with it? It's them. It's their crew.
Yeah.
So,
but this is a little bit different though, because when you've got say a Joshua that's aligned with
who's
Eddie Hearn.
Who's promoting Charlo and Zoo?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Who's promoting Charlo and Zoo?
PBC, isn't it?
PBC is Al Heyman.
Yeah, well, he's obviously behind the network, the advice. But when you've got like a Matchroom or a Golden Boy, or whatever it is, they run the show. You know, they obviously promote, and they're the ones that negotiate. In this instance, Al Heyman's like you said, he's an advisor, but Errol Spence employs Al Heyman, not sort of the other way around. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Errol Spence, who's, as I said, he's been on record as saying, "I'm my own man. I make my own decisions." Al Heyman's my advisor, who I take on board. So, I suppose what I'm getting at is, if Errol Spence really wanted this fight, he would say to Al Heyman, just get it done. If that's the main sticking point, then alter it so everyone's happy and let's get it done. It's such a trivial detail in the whole communication. But what it all comes back to is that it's egos again. It's who runs the show, who's on the A side, who's on the top of the poster, who comes out first, and who's got, you know, the pissing contest. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, let's hope they sort it out. It's not going to happen this year, apparently. It's going to be next year, according to that. Big fight this weekend. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn at London O2 Arena. Really looking forward to this one. Was looking forward to it. I wasn't too stressed about getting up at 5 a.m, but now I've heard you've got to pay. It's a DAZN pay-per-view, so it's an extra $42 on top of your membership or your subscription if you want to watch it, which I think is pretty poor. But if you want to watch it, it's on at 5 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very interesting fight. It's very hyped up, given who their dads are. These guys are both very talented fighters. There's a bit of weight, you know, there's a catch weight obviously there because they're in different divisions. But yeah, look, you know, the fights are. I'm very curious how it's going to play out, because I think, like I said before, if Eubank loses, he's finished. Where Benn, if he loses, I think he gets another bite at the cherry.
Yeah, no, it should be an interesting one. I've just got one final talking point in regards to this, because if you didn't know, the catch weight for the fight is 157. Eubank Jr. has apparently never fought at that weight before. There's lots of conjecture back and forth, which brings, as I said, to talking point number 3. Eubank Jr.'s team needs to do some explaining. Now, what I'm sort of getting at that is that his dad is saying he's going to boycott the fight because he's worried about the well-being of Chris. He did actually want him to cancel the fight, but obviously he's gone on with it. So he's threatened to boycott it because of the weight for starters, but also the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. can only put on 5 pounds between the weigh-in and the fight. So it's about 2.5 kilos. And they reckon he would normally hydrate back up to probably about 8 kilos. So
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so Chris Eubank Jr. has actually, just in the last couple of days, actually come out and said, well, how am I expected to win this? Now, I've got no sympathy for Chris Eubank Jr. and his team, by the way, because they knew all the terms and conditions when they signed up to the fight, including Chris Sr. So it's probably a little bit late to have a whinge, but still, there needs to be some explaining about why his team would throw him, and him included, would put themselves in a position where you can only put on 5 pounds at a weight he's never fought at to fight night. 5 pounds, 2.5 kilos is not a lot of leeway.
Geez, I look at a bloody cheesecake and I put on 2.5 kilos. So that's not good at all. It's not healthy. But he obviously knew the deal and signed it a long time ago. But it's Ben's going to be strong. It's I don't know, like you said, they shouldn't agree to these terms if then you can't whinge about it later. I don't think it's right, but they did agree to it at some stage.
Yeah, well, they did obviously sign the contracts, you know, and then especially when Chris Sr. came out and said, I can't believe he's got to lose all this weight, it's ridiculous. Well, mate, you read the contract. You know, you got your son to sign it. So why are you complaining now? And as I said, why they would have a rehydration clause of only 5 pounds is ridiculous. I would have thought it would have been even more like 10 pounds. That would have been the start, because I would think if he's fighting at 157, he probably would normally probably get in the ring at about 175. So, so anyway, but that's the way it is, and that's what they signed up for. So good luck to them. Well, that's about it for tonight. That's all the Aussie news and world news. As I said at the start, we should have Pete back next week or the week
Episode
after,
50.
hopefully, and we'll have a full
Jesus.
preview next week, of course, of Cambosis and Haney, which will be good, and obviously a review of Super Saturday as well.
And don't forget too, there's another fight on next week too, Jarvis versus Barrow.
Yes, sorry. Yep, full preview of that as well.
That's starting to get very mouth-watering because there's a lot of back and forth in the camps, and Jeff Fennick's super confident. It's going to be very interesting, that one.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we'll do the full review of that, full preview of that, full preview of Cambosis and Haney, and a couple of the undercard fights that are on the cards there as well. And then obviously a review of Super Saturday, which is this Saturday again, from 4 p.m. on main event. So jump on there and buy that; it'll be well worth it. If you can't get to the fights, of course, up in Newcastle, it should be good. So yeah, should look forward to next week with Peter and maybe Nick as well. And we'll see you then when you're back fresh from a bit of a break.
Episode 50, mate. Great stuff. With the shout out the Big Bill Hack down in beautiful sunny in Norfolk, Tasmania. Boxing's just well, the year's getting on now. Got my show November 12th, so we'll talk more about that soon. But yeah, mate, go crack open a bottle of champagne, Lyndon, you and your lovely wife, and have a couple of sips of bubbly.
Will do, mate. All right, we'll see you next week.
See you, Lyndon.